Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Sales B12. I'm Karen Kopp, Chief Door Opener at Kopp Consulting. We get our clients in the door with their prospects for the first meeting. And I'm here with Jack Daly, who is globally known sales guru that is known all over the world for all things sales. So, Jack, today we're talking about how managers can set realistic expectations for their sales team, which is a really important topic. I mean, managers want their sales teams to deliver yesterday, no matter whether sellers are new hires or they're tenured or they're pursuing the same market they've always pursued, or whether it's a brand new one, whether they just finished an outstanding quarter or they're starting a new one, doesn't matter. They want them to deliver yesterday. So how do you advise the managers that you coach on how to set realistic expectations so their sellers can make their commissions, feel joy in their work, strive for their reach goals, but fulfill, most importantly, the needs of the business? Well, what do you do when you're advising your coaching clients?
Yeah, got it, Karen. And look, that you and I both know this is an important topic. 50% or more of success for a seller is in their head. You hear me all the time preaching about the sales playbook and systems and processes, but if a seller's head is not in the game, the systems and processes and playbook aren't going to help.
Right.
Start here, we are in the beginning of a calendar year, and you don't want to start the year behind, because it affects your performance going forward. And I'm always linking sports with business. And if your sporting season started at the first of the year and you're playing a weekly game, well, here we are in early February. You don't want to be 0-5. You don't want to be 1-4, because all of a sudden your head is like, well, we're up against a really top opponent, and we've already lost 4 or 5, and all of that negativity is absolutely death for a seller. Now, one of the things that you just mentioned there is it almost forces me to go off topic a bit, so you can bring me back.
Okay.
But when you said, look, we want to make sure that sellers are going to make their commissions. Well, in terms of how to pay a seller, anybody that's out there paying commissions based on how they perform to plan, or their budget, I think is got a bad plan right out of the get-go. Because very often companies that do that, or leaders and managers that do that, they're throw a number at a seller, and mentally I'm going, well, I don't know whether the number is fair or not fair. And I didn't have an input on the number. And what if the economy tanks and the economy takes us down by 40%? I'm outperforming, and I'm suffering on commissions. That's not a fair play. So one piece of advice before we even get to the realistic expectations, one piece of advice is pay your sellers based on the business that they generate. It's all about how much did I sell and what commission cut are you giving me for selling whatever it is that I'm selling.
So
Uh,
you're saying start them from $1. Don't start them from a certain bogey. A lot of companies do that, and you have to
Absolutely.
clear a certain amount before you get any commission. That's a
Right.
really important point you just made.
Yeah. So more is better. No cap. I don't believe in a cap.
Okay.
Bring it on. And so now let's go over to the getting the expectations right. Uh, this sounds like a lot of work, what I'm about to say, but I don't feel that it is. I like working with my sellers individually and setting 3 levels of goals. I'm going to call it minimum of what you're going to produce month by month this year. I'm going to call the next section realistic, based on what we really feel that the market is, and then a stretch goal. And quite frankly, Karen, in my companies in the past, we ran 3 business plans based on that for the entire company. And each of the sellers had those 3. And so if they broke through the realistic and hit that stretch, there'd be extra commissions based
An
upon that,
accelerator.
right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, if you weren't hitting your minimum, now we're having a serious discussion as to whether you're in the right business, you're with the right company. It provides me fuel for a dialogue to see if I can get you back up to the realistic level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we celebrate? Well, we don't celebrate at the minimum, that's for sure. And we do celebrate when we achieve realistic. We had a plan and we hit the plan, and it was the realistic version. We should be high-fiving and doing some really cool things. But if we went to the and hit the stretch, we're going to have some over-the-top experiences from the standpoint of recognition and rewards. That's where
In,
I'm
in
at.
my in my experience, there are a lot of managers and leaders that only give their people the stretch goals, not the realistic and not the minimum. What do you think of that as a philosophy?
Again, it's the sports team that, 5 games into the season, they've only won 2 because it was this stretch thing.
Right.
I'm looking for how can I high five the sellers more frequently? How can I jack them up? Literally, I do this every day with the sellers, every day. So my mantra on contest is daily contest, weekly contest, monthly contest, quarterly contest, annual contest, all overlapping one another. So
Mhm.
on the way into work one morning, I'll stop at a Starbucks and I'll load up a card for $100, and I'll walk in and I'll just say, hey, I've got $100 Starbucks card on the first guy that puts a sale down today, or the guy that puts the most sales down today. So they didn't know what I was going to do when I walked in that day. I didn't walk in every day with a Starbucks card, etc. And I'm mixing it up all of the time. And then I've got weekly contests for people I'm looking to get their hearts in the game, not just their heads in the game. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I really like to do when it comes, especially to door opening, is to reward every milestone. It's not just about the close. It's not just about the proposal, but getting in the door, live conversations before you get in the door, live conversations with decision makers, getting in the door, having the first meeting, have the first meeting result in a second meeting. All of those are milestones, a chance for a mini high five, which is it's very positive energy for the seller to get to the next step. And you have to do all of those steps in order to get to the close. So why not reward them a little bit? It doesn't have to be much. How would you recommend that managers adjust the expectations that they set if it's a new seller or if it's a longer sales cycle? What should they do then? How do they figure that out?
Well, I'm going to answer that with a bounce off of what you just talked about.
Okay.
And that is, I'm known for HPAs, high payoff activities. It's all
Mhm.
about doing the activities. So what you were just saying, having these mini high fives for when they accomplish certain activities along the way, that's the answer to your question just now. How do you deal with long sales cycles? I have clients that I'm coaching today that our 18 months is a high five to get from opening the account to closing it.
Mhm.
I don't want to have a seller not feeling love for 18 months. It just doesn't work, right? So finding out all of those critical junctures and finding ways to high five and reward people along the way, I think that's essential. Well, the same thing applies to new sellers. It's activity based. Look, if we spend enough time thinking about what is it that really successfully gets deals to close, and we backtrack all the way through those activities, then for me, selling is very simple. do the activities. Do the activity.
What happens when the sales cycle is 18 months? That really it is the sales cycle, but the manager believes it should be 4 months and sets the expectation that way. How does the seller even approach that kind of conversation with a leader? What do you suggest?
Well, look, this is, there are books written on this. Fierce conversations. All right. When we talk about culture, a, 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 a seller needs to be brave enough to push back. A seller needs to be brave enough to say, hey, you're not playing in the real world. And the numbers that you're trying to sign me up for or hold me accountable to just are not real. And if I'm off base by saying this, well, then take me through examples of how people have done it in 4 months, as opposed to what we're seeing is an 18-month selling cycle.
Right.
Now, if you want to go deeper with me, and I'm the seller, I say, great, let's talk about the pipeline and let's look through the pipeline and let's talk about what are those steps that are going to, and you coach me on how I'm supposed to shorten the cycle.
Right. Right. That's good advice. Really good advice because this happens a lot. We see it when we're doing the door opening. We're getting the doors open for a long sales cycle. The seller comes in, is doing a good job, and leadership says, only focus on the sales you can close in the next 3 months. It's like, well, wait a minute, we're building a pipeline here. Why would you invest in door opening and then tell your people not to nurture the leads until the realistic sales cycle? It's so important. It creates behavior in the sellers that you don't want, because if they think that the goals are unattainable, they'll do certain things, right? For example, they may change the game so that they can win. What would they do? They can reduce the price and close it sooner. They can cut the margins and close it sooner. They could change the offer to something that maybe the operations team in the company can't really deliver, just so that they can close it sooner, so they can orchestrate the game so that they win. They could change the target, even though it may not be the right target for the company, but it'll close in a shorter period of time. So it creates all this unnecessary kind of behavior. I've even seen some people, they think that they can't make a certain quarter because the goals were unattainable. They'll hold sales till the next quarter so that they can have 2 quarters together, make their commissions. But then the other thing that can happen if salespeople think goals are unattainable is that they'll start looking for another job where they can make their commissions that they're entitled to, right? But they're not going to tell you as the leader that they're looking for another job. They're just going to take their focus off of what they're doing, which creates all sorts of things that you don't want.
Let me add something. I had a mentor quite a few years back tell me this as a CEO business owner. Sales cures damn near everything. So
Damn near everything.
So now let me do that with a seller. A strong pipeline cures most everything. I'm going to, if I'm in a long sales cycle, if I put enough in my pipe,
That's right.
I don't have to worry about waiting 18 months type of thing, because
That's right.
because some of them are coming due to their 18th month, right? And as long as I keep injecting enough into the pipeline, all of the noise goes away.
That's
So
right.
so for me, a pipeline review. Look, I said this all the time. You have to sit with every seller at least once a month and detailed go through every part of their pipeline and asking this question: what's standing in the way of this getting to the closing? Now, I said at least monthly, but my high performance clients are doing this every week with every salesperson, and I have a few incredible clients that are doing it every day. Pipeline
Yeah.
review, and I'm telling you, it makes a difference.
Right. Well, I think you said it all, and that's probably a great way to close out this episode, is that sales solves everything. Having a full pipeline solves everything. And then the realistic expectations are much easier to set and attain for the salespeople. So we thank you for joining this episode of Sales B12, the one dose of sales you don't want to miss. And please feel free to go through the other episodes that we've done and get the content that you need.
Hey,
Have a great
Karen,
day.
before you say goodbye, I just need to remind people that if they listen to this and they get value, be generous and share it with other people, because we're hearing
Okay.
that. You and I both are hearing that from the public that's saying, "Hey, someone sent me this, and it's really been of high value." So they can go back to all these other episodes, like you said, and just I'm a major believer in sharing as much as I can with people. I just found that it comes back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well, everybody have a great day and listen to the other episodes, and we will see you on the next episode of Sales B12. Bye.